Good morning and welcome back to Into the Jeremyverse. Today we're doing Talking the Jeremyverse and the Cockatrice of Doom. We're just kind of taking a look at things that seem to be a low CR, the challenge rating, but we kind of want to see they do more damage than you would expect. So party killers, stuff like that for seemingly simple activities. This morning you have Alex with me and Conric Cinder Earth John. Welcome both of you. Thank you for being here.
Of course. It's 7:30 on a Saturday. What else do I have to do?
Sleep.
Overrated.
Who needs that?
The dead. That's it.
And that's what these creatures will do to you.
Yes.
Cave fisher.
So we've got, I put up a list for them to see. You at home are not going to be able to see that, but there are a few things on this list that they've already had to face in other campaigns. I got my list mostly up in 5th edition just because that's what I had available last night when I was going through it. But 3.5 definitely has its fair share of dangerous creatures. One thing you guys faced early on in one of your campaigns was a cave fisher. I don't know if either of you remember that.
Yeah, it's the creature we mistook for a roper.
Yes! I'm going old school and using a book this morning for some of this. But the cave fisher gets an adhesive filament. It's a CR3. It can use one action to extend a filament up to 60 feet. It adheres to anything that touches it. Creatures adhered to it are grappled. Ability checks to escape at a disadvantage. Filament can be attacked, but if you fail the attack, your weapon sticks to it. And you actually have to make another save at disadvantage to pull it free.
I don't
And he froze.
remember that.
You don't. That would. You guys would have faced those in Shamiel's hole
Oh, okay.
when he first fell in.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
there was 2 of them.
Yep. And out of character discussion was leave him for dead. It's not worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, and then I'm pretty sure Gura went Leroy Jenkins on it.
Yes, that was probably what saved it for you guys. Was you just jumped on it and started smashing it.
That sounds about right for most of Gura's decisions.
Yep. I'm trying to think. I think back then you were still a CR3, so it was the right level for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And there were at
Three
least
of us
3 of
at
you.
the time for that fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit lower, but it got a hold of one player and just started dragging him off, and there was nothing anybody could do to stop that. The only thing that saved him really was killing the monster itself.
Yeah, because the rolls were not favoring him that night, and he just kept getting stuck worse.
Yeah. He is a fantastic roller for storytelling.
Me?
No, Shamael.
Samael? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you need a real success, like you can't fail this one, he never lets down with a failure. Every time. Another creature off this list you guys faced fairly early on was a giant crocodile.
That one hurt.
Yeah, you want to tell us about that encounter, John?
Yeah. Trying to stay back as a cleric and having this thing come out of the water and 2-hit you into unconsciousness really kind of takes the wind out of your sails.
Yes.
And then being told, oh, that's not the only creature in this encounter, and a third of the party's already unconscious.
Yep. No, that was a fun one too, because it was Alex's character had rolled to go hunting and had the chance to find like a large creature, and that's what came up was that thing is a random generator, and it almost killed at least one person.
I think it knocked 2 of us down.
Yeah, I want to say you and Druis both got blasted.
Yeah, but Truist was like squishy anyway.
He was very squishy.
I was not, and it still just had no issue with my 18 AC.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
Floridian, you jumped right in its mouth.
It really did. It
I
went
mean-
right from eating the turtle to eating the dragonborn.
It's not my fault when Jeremy's rolls are either does a 29 hit you or I don't think a 7 hits. There's almost no in between.
There really isn't. That's what keeps it fun. Near misses suck.
For you, not for us. It makes it feel like our armor's working.
That is true, I guess.
Otherwise, it's like I'm just gonna run into battle naked because he's either hitting me or he's not.
You know, that's an interesting tactic. We should try it sometime. See what happens.
I mean, Gura's already there, being a barbarian.
That's true. And a turtle.
Yeah, I don't have to fear predators so much.
Yeah, no, Giant Crocodile was a CR 5, and he blasted you. I guess he was a 5, not a 3.
A 5. He threw
Yeah.
a 5 against a party of level 3s.
We did
survived.
okay. As long as he gave us the experience points of a 5.
Yeah, sure. We use experience points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because you guys moved off that encounter, and you went to something a little bit smaller, which was a CR4, and it was 2 of them. So you had to fight 2 Ettins after that. Already being beaten up, not taking the time to heal up. Just like, oh, we'll be fine. He's only going to throw one thing at us at a time.
I think we were in the
Forgetting that-
process of healing when the Ed
Maybe
showed up.
we
We were
were.
in camp.
Yeah,
We were making the argument for a short rest, and you just had him waltz in.
yes. Nobody died. Although that was about the last time we saw Druis, so I guess he kind of died.
He is dead to us now.
Who is?
Exactly.
So one of my favorite things that I put on this list, we have not encountered it yet, is the Cockatrice. And I love it just because it's something kind of stupid where unless you're like kind of watching out for it, it could sneak up and just debilitate the party in the blink of an eye. And that's its bite, if you're not familiar with it. It's got a +3 to hit. It's not a whole lot. It only does 1d4 plus 1 piercing damage. That's minimal. But if you fail your Constitution save, you're magically petrified. You turn to stone for 24 hours. So if you got somebody out gathering firewood and they're not paying attention, it just bites their hand. You're down a party member and nobody knows where they are. I'm kind of saving that one for when everybody feels safe somehow.
Can we save that for one more level until our paladin gets their, aura, and we can get their bonuses from their
No.
charisma to all of our saves? That'd be lovely.
No. This is why I always encourage the party to split.
Oh. Yeah, you didn't have to try hard the other day.
No, and it worked out really well for me. I liked it.
Just have our
Too bad I
fighter
missed it.
wander off into a random area of the dungeon,
Yeah.
unexplored location, just off on his own.
Yeah, and it worked out well. He was the one who almost died by we'll go right into him. A roper. It's another, he's not the low CR. He's a CR 5. So it's not like he's tiny. But the stuff he does, a single roper can just wreak havoc on a team.
Oh, and he did.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an AC of 20. And for once, you guys had squandered all of your good rolls on the previous fight.
Slaughtering goblins.
Yeah.
Just every
Yeah.
roll dumped into the goblins in the very next fight with all resources exhausted.
So, John, from what you can remember, what made the roper so dangerous?
It's AC, first and
Yeah.
foremost. And then like the cave fisher, the tendrils that can lash out from a ridiculous range, grappling you on a pretty decent to hit, also having the 20 AC, and now because it's special grapple, everything's at disadvantage.
Yeah.
The strength check to break out is at disadvantage. If you're grappled and try to attack the tendrils, they're at disadvantage. And while they didn't have a lot of health, having a super high AC and all your attacks at disadvantage kind of hurt.
Yeah. He gets a +7 to hit on his tendrils. And if you roll like your DM does, he's hitting with most of those. His one real drawback is he can only actually attack with 4 of his tendrils in a turn. 4 attacks with his tendrils, use his real function, and then make 1 bite attack. Which he only got to make 1 of those the entire round, and it still almost killed the player that was bitten.
I'm kind of sad I missed it.
I know.
Not that sad though. I like to like kind of combine lower CRs to get something dangerous. Like there was one time, and this was a long time ago, but I was running a beholder dungeon, and it wasn't set up this way, but it worked out really well. Where the party ran into an Alep. It might have been 2, and they're like CR3.
What was it?
An Alep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But they do wisdom damage. Well, the next creature that they ran into was lurking stranglers, which they're kind of like just 2 eyeballs held together with tentacles, but they do they shoot rays. They have like cause fear and sleep, which are both wisdom saves. So like the Alep did a bunch of wisdom damage, and then these lurking stranglers, like if you fall asleep, they pretty much wrap around your neck, and it's, what is it? It's after 1 round you drop to 0 hit points. After 2 rounds you go to -1 hit points. Well, like 2/3 of the party had wisdom damage and put to sleep almost instantly by these 2 lurking stranglers, and it basically 1 person survived that encounter. And I was like, dang, this. You know, it was meant to be hard, but I didn't think you guys would die. But
Right. I didn't think it'd be that hard.
But it created a lot of drama because at first, you know, only 2 of them were down, and they were trying to get the guys back up, and then the 3rd one goes down, and after that, the 4th guy pretty much ran. It's like, yeah, there's no getting out of this now.
Smart. He's not a stupid man.
But I like to find things like that where it makes sense that they were together in an area and you can stack them up. Almost anything can really be dangerous if either there's either enough of them or, you know, you do something to switch it up. Like we were talking earlier, and Conric brought up a stealth bear attack that pretty much almost wiped his party out, if not for DM intervention, and it reminded me of another attack where I'd given displacer bears. So I'd taken bears and given displacer beast qualities, and that just decimated people.
Oh, yeah. John, you want to tell us about the stealth bears?
Oh, so it was a brand new campaign. Party of 4 level 1 adventurers, everyone's first time playing. And we just left town and we're walking through the forest. DM asks us for a stealth check, or a perception check. And no one in the party having a very high perception or being proficient in it, all get kind of mediocre rolls. So the DM rolls stealth behind the screen and I guess hits a nat 20 for the enemies that were stalking us. So he provided the 4 black bears a surprise round. And in the one surprise round, the wizard was instantly knocked unconscious, the rogue was instantly knocked unconscious, my cleric was reduced to half hit points, and the barbarian had a good chunk of her hit points removed. And being totally new players and not knowing about opportunity attacks, I ran out of melee range of the bear that was at my cleric to try and bring back one of the party members with the healing spell, was instantly hit with the opportunity attack and was knocked unconscious myself. So in less than 1 round, 3/4 of the party was unconscious and no damage had been dealt to any of the enemies.
I remember you guys had an event. It was supposed to be just a small little fun encounter, just a little, something to make you feel not safe wherever you went. And you had just got out of a cave system. You'd finished Shamael's hole, and some will-o'-wisps were drawing in quicklings so that the quicklings would kill you and they could eat what was left. And it was like 4 quicklings, and the damage they did to like 2 party members was pretty brutal. It was just they were making such fast attacks that had the will-o'-the-wisps attacked you guys, it would have been a TPK. It would have just been done. And none of those are large CR. And it wasn't even like a huge swarm of them. It was just a couple of each.
And thankfully, we saw the low HP pools of everyone and the exhaustion of resources again, and just went, I think it would be safer for us to get out.
Yes.
Just ignore the will-o'-the-wisps. Don't get within melee range, and let's just boogie.
Yeah. Will-o'-the-wisps, they're not super...
They're pretty low,
They're
yeah.
CR2.
But like you said,
Opportunists.
Yes.
No resources left for the party.
Yeah.
We'd just been pretty much got hit with a drive-by in terms of the quicklings.
Yeah.
Managed to finish them off, but were completely surrounded on all sides by, I don't even remember the count of will-o'-wisps that you'd put on the
Unless it was
screen.
10? I'm not opening that screen because that makes me go all robot-y. But what would have really cost you was trying to save the 2 people that were downed. Because at 0 hit points, they have to make a DC 10 con save against their consumed life. Otherwise, it just steals hit points from you and you just insta-die. And you can't really stop them because they can move through anything. And then they were doing 2d8 lightning damage, and there was no hit points left for anybody to defend against that.
Yeah, we just ran.
Yeah. Which is smart. And that's a good thing for a party to do. Which kind of makes me go back to the Cave Fisher, because after you guys fought that, you realized you needed health and supplies and went back to town and came back. And in their place, eating the bodies, were giant scorpions. Which is another one on this list that they're just kind of fun.
They don't seem like they do a whole lot unless you fail a con save.
Yes.
Against the sting specifically.
Yeah, which is pretty nice. Where did it go? Someday I'll learn my alphabets. The sting. 1 creature, a 1d10 plus 2 piercing damage, which is alright. Make your con save 12. Otherwise, you take 4d10 poison damage, and it just is not healthy for you.
No, not unless you have like resistance or immunity against poison. But at the level we were at, we did not, and it was just like, I think a couple of us got hit with the sting and resisted, and you're like, okay, and then somebody failed it and just got
Chamois
chunked by the poison. We're like, oh, let's not let that happen again.
Yeah, Shamael took a solid hit. And it wasn't max damage, but with your level, it was close. They're a CR3 as well. So, I mean, they were about the right level, but more than one of them is just devastating.
Especially if you start failing con saves.
Yes. There's another one you haven't fought yet, but I've considered putting out there is a Banshee. That one's a CR4. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. But like just the amount of necrotic damage they do. One touch with corrupting touch is 3d6 plus 2 necrotic damage. You have to make your DC wisdom save, otherwise her visage just frightens you and you all run. And then if you're like me, you pair her up with a bunch of will-o'-the-wisps or something.
I've always liked swarms, and not necessarily like bat swarms and rat swarms, but like if you take one of the funnest encounters and nearly deadly was just hordes of zombies.
Mm-hmm.
Like the party started out, they were in a tavern, whatever, just eating, and then all of a sudden, pandemonium starts breaking out. Typical zombie scenario. But it was a party of 3 people, and I just threw, it was probably like 25, 30 zombies at them. And they're only CR half, commoner zombies, whatever. And they at first they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be fun because you don't see them all at once. And, they kill a couple zombies and they're feeling really good. And then they kill a couple more and then some more. And then they're like, wait, we're getting low on resources and I've taken some hits. And then there's more. And then it just starts getting to be a desperate, like, running battle. Yeah, they're going to try and escape, but these things are on all sides. So they're just running into more. So it's like, okay, I run and I fight, and then I run and I fight, and I nearly killed all of them by the time they actually managed to escape. But it created such a sense of action and like drama. Like, oh, they got really desperate and really started running out of everything, and you underestimate it. It's like it's a CR half, so you think you're just gonna hit these squishy things, but enough of them, and they're not quite as squishy as you expect.
No, they're... Yeah. I put up one encounter against you guys in Shamiel's Hole. Zombie Squirrels was a homebrew creature, and the first thing said was John's brother goes, oh, well, it's a swarm. So it's like a single entity. It's like, no, actually, you're going to have to fight all 50 of these at once. They're each going to make their own attack. Gave them some unique abilities. I misplayed them. If I ever put them in somewhere else again, I'll fix it, where if you've got 10 of them on you, you have to make a save. Otherwise, you become like just freaked out and start swatting them off.
Yeah, where your only action can be removing them.
Yes. Drop all your weapons and desperately try to get them off. But what I should have done was when they were on you, their hits should have been auto hits. Since they were seeking out all the tender parts of you, they're already on you. And so, like, I think only like a handful got actual attacks, and otherwise they were just a nuisance.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It's 50 creatures. Like, okay, how many more are there? And somebody, what did you cast? Sanctuary? And so they fled off one character onto another. And it just he went from like having 8 or 9 on him to having like 30 on him.
Wasn't that Shammy?
No, Shammy was doing fine. That was Yorlin. Got swapped.
Oh, yeah.
He was not happy.
Jeremy, you just gonna skip the best part of the Banshee?
No.
Just gonna skip over its wail?
Oh, yeah. I was reading it, and then Alex had something. So the Banshee releases a mournful wail. It has no effect of constructs on dead. All creatures within 30 feet here must make a DC 13 save. On a failure, they drop to 0 hit points.
You failed the save, you're dead.
Yep. And on a success, you still take 3d6 psychic damage. She only gets 1 a day, which is kind of disappointing.
If you made this a rechargeable ability, you'd have to do something where it doesn't just auto drop you to dead. Otherwise, that could be... It shouldn't be in its CR rating if you made it a rechargeable ability.
Right.
And 0 isn't dead, but...
No. But if you get a party...
get enough with a party that just fails.
But if you pair her up with will-o'-the-wisps, and they can they can instant kill somebody who's at 0 hit points. That's it.
Yeah, you've got a TPK on your hands if you have enough people that just fail the whale save.
Yeah.
I think I bought that CD when they used to sell those at Walmart.
Which
Fail the whale. Boo.
You can boo me, but everybody chuckled.
John, you brought up a couple creatures earlier while we were discussing. One of those was a shadow. Why were you bringing up shadows?
It's like the creatures that Alex brought up earlier. Ones that deal stat damage rather than HP damage can be very detrimental, especially to characters or classes who might not be proficient or have high numbers in those stats. Shadows specifically deal strength damage. So for spellcasting characters in particular, like wizards or sorcerers who may dump strength in order to have higher charisma or intelligence, might only be able to survive 2 or 3 good hits from a shadow, where 1d4 strength damage every round. Once you hit 0 strength, your character is considered dead.
Yep. You don't even have the strength to live anymore.
Nope.
It's tragic.
You just flop over as a limp ball of meat.
Yeah. I mean, it's a CR half. Put a dozen of those in a room with somebody and...
In a dark room, and if you're playing a class that doesn't have dark vision.
Yes. Let's see. Dim light or darkness, it hides. It can hide as a bonus action. And
So
it
now
can
you've
move
got
through
advantage
1
on your
inch.
attacks.
Yeah, it can move through a 1 inch wide gap. So, you have a party wandering down a dungeon's hallway and, oh, look at all these arrow slits in the walls for these traps. Nope, those are for the shadows to come in. Fear my shadow hole.
We do.
It is only right. Another one you brought up, John, was the Intellect Devourer.
Pretty much same thing.
Yeah.
Just a different stat. Rather than strength, it's intelligence. So,
Yes.
warrior class that dumps intelligence for higher strength or con. You take hits from that, your intelligence goes down. When your intelligence gets low enough, you die. And the scary part is they can then take over your body and puppet it to attack your party.
Yep.
So now they have all of your barbarians' stats and AC. And the only way to save your party member would be to remove the Intellect Devourer. But any damage that you would try to do to it is instead rerouted to the host.
Yeah. And I like how the body can be saved if the brain is restored within 1 round of the Intellect Devourer leaving it. I don't know any spells that restore brains offhand.
I think regeneration, but you're talking a really high level spell.
Right.
Like, I off the top of my head, I want to say 6+.
And you have 1 round to cast it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're looking at some Revivify or True Resurrection level spells.
Yep.
Which only get more expensive as they go up.
One other one you kind of brought up was this gold dragon wormling. Everybody, dragons, they're dragons. They're going to be tough anyways. But the wormlings, they're usually kind of small, CR1s, depending on the color. But gold dragon wormlings, they're CR3. They get another one of those stat breakers. That's their weakening breath. If you don't make your strength saving throw, you get disadvantage on all your strength saving throws for 1 whole minute. So if you're attacking and it gets its breath weapon off and hits your barbarian and your paladin, all your frontline damage is kind of toasted.
Mm-hmm. Because, that's what everyone wants. Disadvantage on all of their attacks.
Mm-hmm. And if it's attacking with anything else, if it has a bunch of kobolds with it or goblins that it's pressed into service, you're looking for a hurting.
Minion creatures, always the ones you should worry about.
Yes. Never fear the minions. They're fine.
Yeah. I like the fact, too, that the addition of small things like a swarm of bats can really change an entire fight. You could have someone that might not be much of a challenge by themselves, but then you add these swarms of bats, or, like I did with that vampire that you guys were fighting.
Yeah. I'll say the vampire wasn't weak, but I was thinking about that too, because the swarms of bats just kind of distracted everybody, and then he came in and just murdered 2 characters. We lost almost half the party. Yeah, we did lose 1 player on it, and we were 1 round away from saving him, and he failed his death save and just bit it.
But
yeah,
it's the little things that can really change the tide of battle. It doesn't always have to be like a giant dragon. You can take what might be an easy fight and completely change the dynamic of it by adding these distracting little things that you have to get through or deal with.
I mean, you start messing with action economy, you start burning resources on something else, especially if you're not aware that there's a bigger threat just behind this one.
And that was part of it.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy's character didn't even notice the vampire because he was dealing with these swarms of bats while everybody else is dying. He's like, he could hear combat, but assumed it was them fighting
the bats. Yeah, he's literally behind a column fighting these bats. Comes around, he's like, where'd that guy come from?
Who are you?
And if you put one move, one action that really limits their team, that vampire put up, was it wind wall?
Gust of wind.
And so, yeah, everybody's fighting against this wind, trying to go after him. And
if you fail your strength check, you fall and lose 15 feet of movement.
Yep.
And if you don't fail it, you're still only moving at half your speed towards him.
Yep.
Yeah.
The only reason we were able to get around that was we had a druid who turned into a giant ram and then dashed so he could get far enough movement and just did a ramming speed into the vampire, just kind of shook him loose for a minute. The wind was still there, but at least gave the party a chance to kind of rally.
Yeah.
That sounds rough.
It was. It could have easily been a TPK. Had not a few attacks. That druid got in 3. He did a save, a healing spirit. He summoned a healing spirit. Then he did that ram. That got him close. And then the vampire decided to climb the wall. And that gave the druid enough room to jump out from where he was, away from the party, and cast his Thunder Wave or Thunder Blast.
It was Thunder Wave.
Yeah. So that knocked the vampire into another wall, and then we were able to just jump on him and beat him out. If anybody can beat off a vampire, that was us.
I was just about to say your word choice was almost catastrophic.
Was it though?
I enjoyed it.
Well, we pulled it out.
No, please put it back.
Who are you, the vampire?
No, I'm not.
I believe we staked his heart and cut off his head that last time.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, it was their second time fighting him.
Yes.
The first time I was somewhat ineffectual in actually using him, and then but they didn't stake him.
No.
And I specifically listened for that part because they put him back in his tomb and filled it with water and covered.
And we posed him.
Yeah.
We posed him in a very embarrassing situation.
But nobody staked him, so I was like, all right,
nope.
This guy's coming back.
Yeah.
I've got a returning villain. Let's go. And then, unfortunately, Jeremy's not had that luck with his campaign, thanks to a certain turtle.
I mean, if there's nothing left, they can't come back to haunt you.
Well, I mean, that and Sentinel kind of takes the wind out of, I'm going to run away. No, you're not.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a fight. You guys went after an Illithid, and he wanted to run desperately and could not.
Yeah, it's always great to hear his side. Don't forget Sentinel.
Roll your attack. Does
Don't worry, I haven't
26 hit?
forgotten.
Yes.
Don't forget Sentinel. I know.
You forget Sentinel. That's where, as a DM, Swarms the thing is handy, because you can stop one, but you can't stop them all.
That's true.
Yeah, but silence can stop a teleport spell.
Oh, it can.
He's just going to fuel everyone with Dispel Magic, Counter Spell, and then Fireball.
Right. You're going up against a bunch of magic immune vampires who are resistant to physical attacks.
And for some reason, immune to daylight.
Yes.
I'm
They
just going to
all
cut
look
off
like
all of their
Wesley Snipes.
weaknesses.
Another monster I looked at that I've seen other people use and I've never used is a Yeti. They're a CR3, but they have their chilling gaze. So anything they can see within 30 feet, one creature, if it can see the Yeti, must succeed on a con save, or take 3d6 cold damage and be paralyzed for 1 minute. So it can try to repeat the save on each of its turns, but you're paralyzed for 1 minute. Anything could do a bunch of damage in that time. Yeti could have a couple wolves with it, or multiple Yetis. Or a stone giant is hiding in the background just chucking rocks at you, and all of a sudden you've stopped moving. He'd be a good one to put up against a team where you're attacking somebody else, and then it throws in a Yeti who just stops you dead in your tracks.
I don't think I've ever used a Yeti either, except for like flavor.
I do like that if you succeed, if you're frozen, no, not if you're, if you succeed on your saving throw at any time, the effect ends. You're now immune to its chilling gaze of all Yetis, except for abominable Yetis for 1 hour. Abominable Yetis may still take you out.
I guess I kind of lean. I like some of the classic monsters for things because like the Mummy. I think it's a CR 4 or 5, but they have a great attack in 3/5. They got a +11 to their slam attack, and then they have despair. So at the mere sight of them, you have to make a will save or be paralyzed, and it's got a decent DC on that will save for 1d4 rounds. So like right off the bat, they can, paralyze hats people. I'll look it up. Yeah, it's a DC 16 will save on the despair. So if you got your group and half of them or more than half of them fail that save, they're paralyzed for 1d4 rounds, where they can just slam the crap out of them. On top of that, their special damage, their mummy rot, does both con damage and charisma damage. So then you're taking out 2 stats. And like at a CR5, that's pretty. It's a D6 at each. That can be devastating quickly.
Oh yeah, I'm looking it up in 5th edition, and it's a CR3. They've lowered it, and it gets its rotting fist. 1 target bludgeoning damage, 2d6 plus 3 bludgeoning plus 3d6 necrotic. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 12 con or be cursed with mummy rot. The cursed target can't regain hit points, and its hit point maximum decreases by 3d6 for every 24 hours that elapse. If the curse reduces the target's hit points to 0, the target dies and its body turns to dust. Curse lasts until removed by the remove curse spell or other magic.
Yeah. Yeah, in 3/5, it's Armor class is 20, and then it has damage reduction 5/nothing. So and undead traits, so no poison,
Oh,
sleep,
jeez, it's an
paralysis.
AC 20.
Yeah, in
They
3.5 edition.
they changed it to an 11 in fifth.
Yeah, that's probably why they lowered the challenge
Yeah,
rating too.
I'm
But
gonna bump it back up to a 20.
at the sight of them, the viewer must succeed on a DC 16 will save or be paralyzed with fear for 1d4 rounds. Whether or not the save is successful, they cannot be affected for 24 hours by it. The save DC is charisma based, and not a lot of people use charisma. Sorcerers and bards, but
And Jeremy's version is a CR3.
Yep.
So if you hadn't read the entire stat block and threw these in a dungeon up against a party of level 3s, no one would have access to remove curse because that's a 3rd level spell. So the lowest level you could possibly get access to it would be 5th.
Yep.
yeah. So then you'd have to seek an alternate healing fast.
Within
Fast.
a day or two.
Yeah.
But you could roll poorly on your 3d6. I mean, you might only lose 3 hit point maximum every 24 hours. If that's the case, you got like
if you're level
6
3
days.
and you're talking about, let's say, a 1d8, like a rogue or a cleric or a ranger, you might only have 20 some hit points.
Yep.
If you have a decent con and got good rolls for your health. So if you start getting good rolls for the 3d6, you might only have 2 days.
You better find a cleric fast.
5th level or
Yes.
higher, I need some remove curses.
Hopefully you're near a city that has a nice
Nice temple.
temple.
Yeah, they've got a bunch of immunities and resistances too.
Yeah, because they're undead and then they damage reduction. Well, I don't know in 5e.
Where do you go? Resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical, damage immunities, necrotic, and poison. So, take that to your Toll of the Dead.
Oh yeah, Jeremy absolutely despises my Cleric's Toll of the Dead. I can't tell you how many things that have either been grossly hurt or slaughtered by the D12 of necrotic.
Yes.
Because my
It's
first
what
question always
happens.
is, has that taken damage?
I liked facing off against the Roper where, like, he didn't have the greatest willpower and he kept saving against it anyways.
I think I only cast it twice that fight.
Yeah.
Because at first we were so focused on trying to break the tendrils, and then when it came out that they had the same AC as the Roper itself, and as a courtesy, Jeremy let us know that damaging the tendrils did not damage the main body, which is another big thing, because our paladin dumped a holy smite and a big attack into one of the tendrils to free one of the other players. And Jeremy was like, oh, by the way, that doesn't hurt the main body at all. And it's the Roper's turn, and he sends out 4 more tendrils and instantly re-grappled the party member we had just freed. I think everybody's mindset went from free party members to screw the tendrils, kill the main body first.
Yes. Very quickly. There was some panic. You know, and then the question is, so you want to keep exploring the dungeon? No, we're almost dead. We have no spells left. And that tells me as the DM, random encounter time.
Yeah. I mean, all of the spellcasters were out of spell slots, but I think most of us were pretty good on HP. It was just the fighter who got royally messed up by the Roper.
Yes.
Who was like, I don't want to be here anymore.
Nope, he got pulled into a spike pit and then bitten in half. And then covered in guts.
Which, if you ever want to design a roper encounter, just make a big room and have randomly placed spike pitfall traps on the way towards the center for the roper to drag people through.
And if you really love your players, you put multiple ropers in there so they keep getting pulled in different directions.
That sounds awful.
I do this out of love.
That's when I start casting Fireball.
Can you?
I'm gonna nuke the whole room.
We're all gonna die, but I'm gonna take you down with us.
No, I'm gonna start going into town and buying barrels of spark powder.
And actually, the only reason you guys really found it too was because of an allowance for Detect Good and Evil didn't actually reveal it because it was a monstrosity, not an abomination. But since it's a evil entity, we allowed it to be detected. And realistically, it just needed to go up just a little bit higher on the ceiling, and you could have done even less damage to it.
Oh yeah, it was a bad time all around because where it was at was out of range of pretty much the entire party. There was very few members of the party who had some way, shape, or form to reach up and hit it at its 15 feet of height.
Yep.
Otherwise, if it had boiled down to it, it would have been let the roper drag you up into melee range and then try to make all of your attacks at disadvantage while it's biting you.
Fun stuff.
Not really.
That we barely survived, though. Those are always the fun ones, because then you have
They
a
are.
sense of accomplishment afterwards. Like, if you just walk through everything and it's just a cakewalk, it doesn't create that drama that really gets the heart going.
You mean where Gura painted the walls red with the painting crew?
Yes. They were just at work.
He suddenly had a transatlantic accent and didn't sound quite like himself.
He was having a spell.
It's always
Some days you just don't feel like yourself.
Getting 30s to hit on these poor little goblin workers.
What I like was you were actually literally warned about the roper 2 rooms previous.
What?
There was writing on the wall that said, "Watch the ceiling." And then nobody was looking up. I know.
And I couldn't even cast Fairy Fire on it because nobody would have been able to hit it anyways.
Yep. I mean, you could have cast it. You would have been able to see it slightly better. Could have also lit the chandelier it was standing above.
You know, I just thought it was part of the chandelier, like it was just using it like a hat.
That would have been funny. No, I kind of just had it to the side of it, hiding like in plain sight.
Yeah, that was a rough fight.
It was.
Looking forward to what else is hidden in the rest of that dungeon.
Nothing. Don't worry. Just walk blindly.
No, it's fine. It's fine. 300 feet of dark vision, remember?
Yes. My highlight coming out of that was the Yorlin character going, "There better be some loot coming out of this."
Hit it like a pinata.
He gets 2,000 copper pieces looted from the room.
Oh yeah, he was ecstatic. I can just see him wearing copper armor and daring somebody to electrocute him at some point.
Should have had the roper hiding it so it was like a pinata. It just starts dropping down when it dies.
Oh god.
Everybody starts taking bludgeoning damage.
Rather than rolling to see if somebody gets covered in viscera, you roll to see who all gets hit with how much coinage.
Yes. Who's looking up? We are. Wow. Surprise!
It's hailing.
You said you wanted more money.
It's raining tentacles.
Did you say
Hallelujah.
tadpoles?
Tentacles.
Oh,
It
the last
was
thing I
too,
need
because
is
that
a.
was the final kill. Was a critical hit, and it was slashed through, severing every tentacle and its head.
Yep.
I
By
could
a
have seen Gura
spiritual
picking up the
weapon.
tentacles, like one of those sticky hands, and slapping people with it.
That would have been smart. That would have been really cool.
I'm gonna fix a handle to it and use this like a whip now.
You guys are gonna have to go back and harvest tentacles. See if somebody can enchant it to Shamiel's shield, so he can pull things in for the rest of you to beat to death.
It'll be funny too because he's so little. It'll just pull him.
Yes.
He goes
No.
to pull it in and it drags him towards it.
He's just gonna use his immovable rod for a good purpose.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I don't even think he remembers he has them.
Oh, I bet he does. Just not in the
I
way
thought it
that
was funny.
he should.
The first time he showed up, and he's like, "Yep," and I started setting up my hammock. I jammed these rods I have in the ground, and I'm like, I knew he had immovable rods. I'm like, that's not their purpose, but okay, use them how you want.
See, that's why I didn't recognize him, because he put them
Yeah.
in the ground.
Yep.
I thought if he
Maybe.
just, hung them in the air and then clicked a button and they stayed there motionless, I would have recognized them then.
You did cast Detect Magic on it and detected magic, but then you were just so sidetracked by the things that you were also looking for. Other magical items that have been found that you just kind of overlooked them.
But it
Oh,
doesn't
yeah, like their friendship ring.
Yes. Friendship forever.
Hey, we bonded while you sulked.
Yeah. It's not their fault you don't like getting wet and covered in mud.
I cannot put into words how many times in our replay sessions and in the actual sessions something has dragged my character into a muddy swamp area and got him absolutely splattered with either mud, swamp water, viscera, or all of the above, and just left him like, I will torch you if this happens again.
And it hasn't happened for a while because I decided to start playing it off as a curse, and it's been passed around the team from person to person, and right now it's centered on the fighter. And so every time something dies around him, we just roll a percentage to see if he gets hit with it.
Because he just always seems to be the closest at the killing blow.
I believe last session he threw an axe through a goblin's head and the brains spattered back at him.
Which I don't even think he realized you'd done that. He just felt real good in the moment with his super high stats where he was just, I'm cleaving through all of them. I feel good. And then we get into the next room and he gets almost downed under 2 attacks. And he's like, I don't want to be here anymore, guys.
Yeah. I want my mommy.
I don't like this dungeon anymore.
Now how do you feel about exploring every room?
Yes. Tell us how we all feel.
Well, those of us in the guild feel as if it's our duty to explore all of the rooms. The one outside of the guild is like, I've got enough, guys. We can leave now.
Right, this is the most wealth he's ever seen in his life. He's had his adventure. He could probably retire right now and just be happy as a farmer.
Oh, but we all know Yorlin wouldn't allow that.
No.
Not until he converts.
The nice paladin bringing him to his doom. How do you think Yorlin would react if he convinces him to stay and he dies because of it?
I think it wasn't strong enough.
Probably. He
He
just
would
looks and just
probably
tragic.
demand Arvin to revivify him.
Yep.
For he must be raised in the name of the sun.
See, and that's what the DM convinces you to role play it out for 61 seconds.
You got a little egg timer next to you, do you?
I like counting in my head. Right? I got 5 different clocks counting by the second right now on my screen, and that's just coincidental. Yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of sometimes little things can have a big impact. You've gone against a couple monsters that did little damage, but had you faced them without your spell list or your spell slots, or after a combat or whatever, it would have been lights out.
Oh yeah, no, it would not have been fun.
Yeah. Funny.
For you.
Yes.
I like this character.
I like him too. I'd like to see him not die. He should have fought harder if he wanted to live.
Don't worry. I'm sure if I go down this multi-class route to get a plus 13 initiative.
You're going to have to roll better. Oh, you roll pretty good for initiative. We have a few players that tend to roll under 10.
Well, everyone's like, Arvin keeps hogging the advantage. Well, I don't know when we're going to get into a fight, and I have to touch a willing creature to give it advantage on initiative. And every time you call for initiative, there's no one within 20 feet of my character. So I'm like, well, I guess it's mine again.
To be fair, you just kind of sit back and you're like, I hang 30 feet back from the rest of the team.
I don't do that. I try to be in the middle of the pack now.
That's true. It is now. Smart.
But I'm trying to be a more support-focused cleric. It just hasn't always gone that way with Toll of the Dead and Spiritual Weapon.
Yes, and you have a cleric that can support.
You okay?
Excuse me. You have a cleric that could support the entire team and doesn't.
Yeah.
He's literally built to support everybody and chooses not to.
He keeps trying to use Bane rather than Bless.
Yes. And when he uses Bless, it goes really well.
He's learning though, like
He is.
he's come a long way for a first time player in just a couple sessions.
Yes. Which is nice.
If he wanted to be cruel, he could use Bless, command one person to attack, and then just keep using healing word on somebody. Be like, you gain 6 HP. Hit him.
Yeah. It'd be great. He plays an order domain cleric, so if he casts a spell on a teammate or an ally, he can have one of his allies attack. I think it uses up their reaction, though. So I got to get him to start using it on Gura, so then he can't use Sentinel.
Yeah, because I
You will
think
not lose.
Sentinel's written as it has to be an opportunity attack. So if it's a forced reaction, it wouldn't classify as an opportunity.
But it would be classified as a reaction. If you're using your reaction to make an opportunity attack. What book was this in? I like this is how where the argument has gone is how can I stop that?
How can I stop my player from using Sentinel? Step
Yes.
1, kill the player.
A DM's guide to stopping this baloney. You suck and your skills are useful. That is the wrong book again.
I'm excited to see how you guys handle what we have coming up for you on our actual
Yes.
live play game.
Lots and lots of fire.
Sooner
We
or later,
could.
probably.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a matter of time, really. He has to cast a spell with first level or higher. I think he also keeps trying to hit you guys with cantrips.
Hit us with it? No, I don't think he's cast pretty much anything on us.
Not
He keeps
much.
trying to hit enemies with either inflict wounds, spiritual weapon, or bane.
Yeah, use your reaction is the end of it.
Which I don't mean to be mean, but he doesn't have a very high spell save DC
No, he
for a level
doesn't.
5 cleric, so it's like you should probably dump any and all spells that don't deal damage
Hush.
in favor of spells that would benefit your party members in some way, shape, or form.
Get there. I like how our nuclear cell fell right into it. And he was all feeling bad about not being very effective in combat to come to find out that he did his sheet wrong.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Then when he redid his sheet, he rolled
Really well.
what can only be described as phenomenally.
I was interested to see how that turned out.
Oh, it went from a standard point by spread for a fighter to I could play practically any class with these stats.
Jeez.
Yeah. He was doing fine against the goblins, but once he went against the roper, all of his stats went out the window.
Oh yeah, because
Then it was just
his
roll
rolls were like,
dungeon.
nah, you have disadvantage, so you're gonna get all of the low numbers.
Yes.
Which I was there when we rolled up his new stats, and he got a 22 strength, like a 16 or 17 dexterity, and 18 con, 13 or 14 wisdom, 14 intelligence, and an 18 charisma.
Yeah. He got kind of broken. I mean, it's not bad. It's just he went from being like just
A standard point by
Yeah.
fighter to absolutely yoked out in terms of anything physical damage.
Yes. And he still almost died.
Yep. I mean, that's D&D for you. You could have the
Hilarious.
most min-maxed character, and just a few bad rolls puts that character in the ground.
Yeah. It doesn't take very long.
Or a whole lot, because, I mean, he had 60 total HP, in 2 attacks took him to a third of his max. One was the trap, and one was a bite from the roper, and he was already at 1/3 his total HP. One more good bite would have put him unconscious.
Yeah. Let's see. We've gotten a bit off topic here.
Yeah.
Only a tiny bit.
That's the fun of role-playing games, though. Like, you start talking about it, and then you start talking about games you played and stuff you've done. Like, something I love about the fact that we're playing D&D now is that all of us work together. Is we go to work, and all night we just talk about D&D.
Yep.
At least me and Johnny and a couple other guys that I've gotten into playing, and then I see you guys in the break rooms, and we're talking D&D. It's the beauty of this thing.
It really is. I was talking to one of our actual watchers the other day or last night, and he said he only got through, the first portion of the live play last week, and then he got distracted by something. And he's like, he could say it, and he goes, "You wrote all this at work, didn't you?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's where most of it came out of my head." So there's a lot of time to just sit and think.
Yeah. Johnny asked me, he's like, so how are you liking it code DMing? And I'm like, you know what? It's really nice because you'll come across, you'll come up with a situation, but to you, you're like, man, this seems kind of basic. So you bounce the idea off the other guy, and he's like, well, what if we did it like this and this instead? And you're like, oh, yeah. And it just makes it easier to build instead of sitting here kind of beating your head against the wall sometimes on your own. Like me and Jeremy, he'll throw an idea, and I'm like, oh, I love that, but what if it was like this too? And he's like, yes, and then before you know it, you guys are practically dead.
Yeah. Again, hilarious.
But back onto our original topic, I don't really know how to pronounce them correctly. Vargul.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever used any of those? They're challenge rating 2, but they have a shriek attack that does that can paralyze people for 2d4 rounds, and then they come in with a kiss, which is a fortitude save, a touch attack with a fortitude save, and they begin to transform into Vargals within 24 hours, unless healed. And it doesn't really show any signs until you start losing all your hair thereafter. Anything like that can do ability damage and then also poison someone or give them a magical disease is just great for a DM.
Oh yeah.
Especially if it's something the party, you're going against a party and sometimes it's hard with people like you, John, so much and the animals, so we start to describe it and you're like, oh, I know what this is. And I know that you're good at not metagaming in that way, but there's still a part of everybody that kind of oh, this is a troll, I know we got to use fire damage, or else it's just going to regenerate, or this. So coming up with these exotic, smaller creatures that just can be devastating is a lot of fun to watch you guys have that panic moment and maybe struggle a little bit, but ultimately see how you come up with overcoming it.
Or misidentify it for something that could, in our minds, be far, far worse.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. Oh yeah, with the Vargals too, that was something that I liked about them. They had a poison damage that's unable to be healed naturally or by magic.
Yep.
So do you just have to wait it out?
You have to neutralize poison and then use a heal spell. Because it's a poison effect.
That's gotta be a 3/5 thing I'm unaware of.
It is a 3/5 thing. Yeah, it reads, so their poison is injury with a fortitude DC of 12, or be unable to heal the bite damage naturally or magically. A neutralized poison or heal spell removes the effect, while delay poison allows magical healing. The save DC is constitution based and includes a +1 racial bonus. How are you supposed to know that as a character? You roll what? A religion check or maybe an arcana check to maybe know that, but otherwise you just throw in healing spells at this person. Why isn't this working?
What's wrong?
We just sit back and giggle.
Yes.
Well, it's a good thing I don't worry about healing spells.
When the DM keeps telling you, give him another healing potion. Give him another healing potion. You got 20 more to get rid of.
Or the DM's like, I accidentally gave them a 9th level spell scroll. Let's continuously opt to have them use it.
Yes. Look, it's an option. I'm just saying.
Hey, just be happy it was mass heal and not something like
Summon Meteor
Storm.
No, I would have been happy with Summon Meteor, though. That would have been a good one.
Oh, you could have been what is it? The Blade of Chaos.
What's that one do?
9th level. It's pretty much an amped up version, a wizard version of spiritual weapon,
Mm-hmm.
where it creates a spatial distortion that becomes a blade and does like 12d10 force damage with a crit on like an 18 to 20
Jeez.
for 3 times damage.
Yeah.
And it's like spiritual weapon, so it can be moved and used to attack as a bonus action. And it's just, in my opinion, a disgusting spell for 9th level.
Yes.
Is that 5e?
Yeah, that's a 5e. It's either chaos or it's blade of
Chaos
something.
Blade.
Chaos blade.
You evoke a seething blade of undulating primordial. Sorry, I can't talk today. Undulating primordial chaos in your hand. This magic sword lasts until the spell ends. It counts as a simple melee weapon, which you are proficient. It deals 2d8 plus 1d6 damage in a hit and has finesse.
I think that's a
Light.
different spell, because the one I'm
Yeah.
thinking of is 9th level.
Yeah, this is the second level that I found. But
Blade of Disaster. You create a blade-shaped planar rift about 3 feet long in an unoccupied space. The blade lasts for up to 1 minute, and when you cast the spell, you can make 2 melee spell attacks with the blade, each one against a creature, loose object, or structure within 5 feet. On a hit, it takes 4d12 force damage. The attack scores a critical if it's an 18 or higher. On a crit, the blade deals an extra 8d12 force damage for a total of 12d12. As a bonus action on your turn, you can move the blade up to 30 feet and then make up to 2 melee spell attacks again. The blade can harmlessly pass through any barrier, including a wall of force.
Hmm.
yeah, but by the time you can cast level 9 spells, that's
You'll be using that much to just deal chunk damage from creatures you'd be facing.
yeah.
Yes. Here's another creature I've found. Botchling. It's a small undead. It gets a bite attack that it deals 1d6 plus 2 piercing plus 3d8 necrotic, and it regains hit points equal to the amount of necrotic dealt. And you have to make a DC 16 saving throw or fall unconscious for 1 minute. Which is kind of whatever. But it gets like attacks on unconscious creatures too. As a bonus action, the botchling can target one creature it can see within 5 feet of it that is unconscious. The target must succeed on a DC 16 con save or gain 1 level of exhaustion.
Well,
that's
gross.
That's a bonus action for its feverish hunger. It gets a wail with a 4/6 recharge. It lets out a horrific wail. Any creature within 60 feet can hear the wail, must succeed on a DC 16 con save or be stunned until the end of the botchling's next turn. And every time it uses it, there's a 50% chance that it summons 1d3 specters or 1 shade, which appears within 30 feet of it and acts as an ally.
So if you put a handful of these, it could very quickly turn into a lot of stunned party members with a growing army of issues they have to deal with while also being stunned.
Yeah. And it's a CR2. Resistant to cold, necrotic, immune to exhaustion, and prone.
That could quickly spiral out of control if there's more than one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're getting good rolls on its recharge for its whale.
Yes, which I don't. That's why I don't use anything with a recharge anymore, because I can never get it to hit. You guys face 7 blink dogs, and only one of them recharged his blink. Yeah. Yeah, it recharged his blink and then was killed.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right. Because you're just saving it for when we face that ancient dragon and it recharges its breath weapon 4 times in a row.
Yes.
And just
Yes.
insta wipes the party with continuous cones of flaming death.
I mean, yeah. What else are we gonna do?
Not die.
That's on you.
Says the one now compiling a list of low CR monsters that could.
I don't need to compile it. I'll just watch this again and go over
It's
it.
like, welcome to my TED Talk on how to get your players to kill themselves.
Kill themselves? No. Walk
Well,
into
I meant
something
just
where
by-
they think it's going to be a absolute piece of cake and then end up with a few people dead and the rest fleeing out of terror? Yes.
So another low CR creature in 3/5 that I like is the Imp.
Ooh, yeah.
So the Imp, they're a CR2, armor class 20. They got a decent base attack, but they use a sting that does a poison, which is, it's got a kind of a low DC, but it's fortitude DC 13, and the initial damage is 1d4 dex with the secondary damage of 2d4 dex. The next round. And then at will, it can detect good and magic, but it can go invisible. Once a day, it can use suggestion at a caster level of 6th with the save DC is charisma based, and once per week it can use communicate to ask 6 questions, which only really comes in for like role playing, but like, and they can also they have an alternate form, so it can assume another form at will as a standard action of either a monstrous spider, a raven, a rat, or a boar. But like, you get a couple of them in there and they attack with their stingers and then alternate form into a rat and disappear in a hole in the wall, just to come back out and hit you again in a couple rounds. Things like that where they can hit you and then get away just to come back and hit you. You can, especially doing dexterity damage. A couple of those hit with dexterity damage and your party is slowed way down. They're losing dex, they're failing reflex saves after that. They're a nice way to soften something up, if not take it out for another encounter. And if you're using imps, you're probably going to be using other devils, and from there it just goes up.
Only slightly.
Well, that sucks. They got rid of half of that in 5th edition. And they got rid of the boar form. Can either resemble a rat, a raven, or a spider.
Yeah, the boar doesn't really make sense to me.
No, but if you're like me and you like to throw boar after your players for some stupid reason,
yeah,
it'd be funny to have all the boar turned into imps, because that's what they really were. Surprise! You hit it and it poofs into a cloud of smoke. In its place is an imp.
Couple imps and then followed by like a Barbazoo, and you've got a TPK going. It's
Yeah,
our level.
that's what we're talking about.
I feel as if these are kind of one-sided on these talks, where it's the two DM/GMs and one player, and the player's like, I want to live, and the GMs are going back and forth on how best can we slaughter them.
On the other side, you can now report back to the other players of, hey, we need to watch out for these things. It sounds like we're going to be facing a bunch of imps.
I've compiled a list of the freshly named enemies we could be facing in the near future. Be on the lookout.
Protection.
That's gonna be great. You can like prepare for imps and stuff. We're gonna throw like weird tree frogs at you.
Yes. One of these books around here somewhere has a list of random homebrew monsters. The likes of which...
both have a list of creatures with long, slimy appendages that could grapple and pull you towards them. We got ropers, we got cave fishers, we got tree frogs.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna come up against a thing of giant toads here next.
Who told you about the giant toads?
Intuition based on the conversation path.
What did I name it? So it's in the book, but I changed it. Let's see here. It's in my list of the deck of random encounters. I haven't used this deck in a while. You haven't had too many random encounters.
Because you just keep using your pre-generated ones.
Yeah. I guess it is a random generation. Maybe I'll start throwing these in there too.
How about no? How about you let us clear the dungeon first?
How do you feel about Darklings?
I
Or
have no
more
idea.
Hydra?
Or a gibbering mouther.
Yes.
Oh,
Ooh, I like
what?
that. A gibbering
Gibbering mouth.
mouther.
Yeah, a gibbering mouther. It's a horrible creature seemingly drawn from a lunatic's nightmares. Although not evil, it thirsts after the bodily fluids and seems to prefer the blood of intelligent creatures. They're about 3 feet across and 3 to 4 feet high and weigh about 200 pounds. But they basically send out their attacks by shooting out strings of protoplasmic flesh, each ending in one or more eyes and a mouth that bites at the enemy. And then they begin gibbering as a free action. All creatures other than the mouthers within a 60-foot spread must succeed on the DC 13 will save or be affected as though by confusion for 1d2 rounds. They have spittle that as a free action every round. They can fire a stream of spittle at an opponent within 30 feet. Makes a ranged touch attack. If it hits, it deals 1d4 points of acid damage, and the target must succeed on a DC 18 fortitude save or be blinded for 1d4 rounds. They have improved grab, swallow whole, blood drain, where they take their blood drain. Swallowed opponent automatically takes 1d4 points of constitution damage in each round. At
Yep.
will, as a standard action, a gibbering mouther can cause stone and earth in all adjacent squares to become, a morass akin to quicksand, softening the earth, sand, or the likes to take 1 round, while stone takes 2 rounds. Any other creature than the mouther in that area must take a move equivalent action to avoid becoming mired, which is treated as pinned. They're not subject to critical hits and cannot be flanked. And they're only a CR 5.
That sounds awful.
Yep. Welcome to 3-5.
It's fine. It's fine.
Especially considering all of our party is considered small.
Yes, sir.
Gibbering. Here we go. Gibbering Mouther in 5th edition. CR2. 10 feet around it is dough-like. The terrain changes around it. You have to make a strength saving throw or have your speed reduced to 0. And that's just automatic. It gets its gibbering. Each creature that starts its turn within 20 feet of it and can hear the gibbering must succeed on a wisdom saving throw. On a failure, the creature can't take reactions until the start of its next turn. It rolls a d8 to determine what it does on its turn. A 1 to 4, it does nothing. A 5 or 6, it takes no action or bonus action. It uses all its movement to move in a random direction. 7, 8, it makes a melee attack against a random creature. Blinding Spittle. The Mouther spits a chemical glob at a point it can see within 15 feet. The glob explodes in a blinding flash of light. Yep. That's a nice creature right there. CR2. He's pretty too. Let's see if we can make this picture bigger. Jump between all my windows here.
Before you showed me that DM screen program, it was the same way trying to run. You have 50 windows open.
Yes. It doesn't happen. It doesn't help that I have like 30 of them of CR creatures. But no, that's what a gibbering mouther looks like.
Lovely.
Yes. I'm sure I put one somewhere. Question is, where did I stick him?
There's all sorts of fun art for that. It basically looks like the Blob. Remember when
Yeah.
Eric Cartman's Trapper Keeper started assimilating everything?
All right. I don't need that. No, gibbering mouthers are hilarious. No, I'd actually there's a giant frog in 5th edition, but I changed it into a gargantuan toad or a gargantuan frog. It basically just like quadrupled all of its stuff. Everything it did as a giant now is gargantuan. Went from a medium to a large, but I'm thinking about making it a huge beast. Just really lobbing it on there.
Man, I should have been taking notes.
Yes. Well, lucky for you, this is all saved on Facebook, or not Facebook, YouTube. You just got to go back and read it or watch it.
I'll be sending that link to every other player and be like, yo, we should memorize these stat blocks for no particular reason.
Just in case you're wondering, memorize this list.
Yo, our DMs are sadists. Look at this shit.
Yeah, that could be the tagline I put with the video too.
Yes. But you know what? We talked about, I think, in one of our other videos briefly, is a creature that was a low CR that I'd actually put one ability onto it. And it wasn't like anywhere close to taking you guys out. That was when you guys went up against an ochre jelly CR2, and I gave him a zone of silence. Because for the most part, you guys have been relying on just talking to each other and casting spells. And suddenly he's just, you can't hear anything, can't cast spells, can't communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Most of your expressions are just violence.
As they
Tell
should
me-
be.
That's Gura's love language.
Tell me how you feel. I murder goblins. Is that a metaphor? Yes.
Does it
Maybe.
need to be?
Yeah, and you know, most of what I listed was just the stuff out of 5th edition, while 3.5 had 5 monster manuals. So there's lots more for us to pick from.
Great.
Yeah.
Loads and loads of creatures. And it sounds like stat damage is much more common in 3.5 than it is in 5e.
Yes.
A mixture of stat damage and affliction, where as most of the creatures I'm familiar with in 5e have either really high base damage or afflictions, such as paralyze, stun.
Yes.
I like environmental things that can kill you too. I can't think
Yeah.
of any of the trees right offhand, but like running into different trees that'll grab a hold of you. Violet Fungus. I don't know if you ever used one of those. It's a CR3. But, and they're nothing special. They have a reach of 10, and they use a tentacle attack, which they have, like, 4 of. But every attack that you have a chance of getting poisoned, which is a Fortitude save DC 14, and the initial secondary damage is 1d4 strength and 1d4 con. So if they hit you with all 4 tentacles in a round and you don't save on any of that, that's 44 strength and 44 con in 1 round. And it's a CR3.
That sounds painful. And what happens in 3.5 if one of your stats drops to 0?
Pretty much the same thing. You fall unconscious, your stat falls to 0, your hit points go to 0, and then you're making death saves. Yeah, and they also do 1d6 plus 2, just regular damage on top of that with every attack. So 4d6, plus 8 damage, and then 44 strength and 44 con. Potentially 1 round.
Oh yeah, if you got lower health.
Yeah, and then lower strength, so then all your attacks don't hit nearly as much. You're just over there feeling sick. You run into a solitary, or a patch of them. That's 2 to 4. There was another type of fungus too. I think it did like a sonic attack or something.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Yes. I found my list of homebrew monsters to make, and it was mostly just a bunch of like words put together.
I'm surprised.
I know. Me, like quicksand that's actually an ooze, prairie wolves, lowland yetis, whip-tailed scorpions, a squirrel king, whatever that is. Somebody I decided to call a syrup mage. I don't know why I have a syrup mage, but I thought that sounded like fun.
Rather sticky.
Infected bears. What are they infected with?
What?
That's a very good question.
Herpes.
Yeah.
The entire party now has syphilis.
Roll an investigation check to find clinics.
Yes. How did you guys get this? Bears. Yeah. So you can go to the other clinic in the other town. They just direct you off into the wilderness, and that was it. You all are pretty sure you made it there safely.
A chain of clinics in our world called Planned Patronage.
Planned patronage?
Yeah, everybody's gonna have to go there to get healed of all these diseases, magical diseases and shit.
It's a patron that just keeps getting people in. Like, you want to get cured? Yes. I'm gonna need your soul.
Yeah.
Or a favor or whatever.
It's run by Fae.
It's building up its power base just on like the infected. I like it.
Your next level has to be a warlock.
I mean, I wouldn't mind. Arwen's got some pretty good charisma.
Gura doesn't. Yeah, I always seem to do well with the charisma rolls.
Yes. You only failed the one con save, and that just got you addicted to liqueur.
I'm okay with it.
It's a good addiction. It's a good thing.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, if I pass my con saves while drinking it, I get extra healing and shit from short rests.
And to be fair, if you fail it, you get no benefits from a long rest.
Or that's what I mean, a long rest, yeah.
No. I mean, you were right. On a short rest, you can gain the benefits of a long rest if you roll high enough on it. If it deems you worthy. If you're not worthy, I think we did that to Yorlin. He had drank all night and he didn't get back any of his stuff because he was passed out. He didn't rest. He was knocked out. All right, we are after 9 o'clock. Do either of
starting
you
to feel it now?
I know. Do either of you have anything more that you'd like to bring up in this stream?
No, I think we covered quite a bit of what we actually meant to cover and a bunch extra.
Yes.
The on and off topic both.
Bonus material. We're going to just start titling these How to Kill Your Players in 3 Easy Sessions.
That's where it always seems to lead to.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the plan. I mean, I will, it's...
If you wish to kill them, here are some monsters. If you wish for them to kill themselves, here's some equipment you could give them that would benefit more than one person, and watch them fight amongst themselves for it.
Yes. So, I guess we'll end it here. This time just a couple minutes early. That's all right. Give you guys the rest of your day, and some of us can get sleep before we work tonight. No, thank you anybody who watches this. We appreciate it. John and Alex, thank you for joining me. It was good talk. We want to make sure that at the end of these things too, we're thinking where we get some of our source material from. So, of course we get it from Wizards for playing D&D. But a lot of stuff that we add into our campaigns, we're getting out of both Midjourney and ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So
all of our art so far has been from Midjourney.
Yeah. We've also been using Foundry, and that's been pretty good. So we're still working on better ways to integrate that into the sessions so you guys can, as watchers, get to see more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll come back next week. We'll have everybody here. We'll play some more. And we'll have lots of fun with some TPKs.
Yeah.
Second session in.
Well.
So, all right, we'll end it there.